This video is proudly sponsored by Gamersgate. Download games anytime, anywhere. Visit Gamersgate.com.
Welcome to Elder Geeks, Elder Speaks. Today is Wednesday, May 9th, 2012. My name is Randy Yasenchak. I'm the owner and the editor of ElderGeek.com. Today in the background I'm not sure exactly what you're going to be watching because I'm not sure which game I want to play after I'm done recording this this session. You're either going to be seeing more from Port Royale 3 or you're going to be seeing more from Mount and Blade Warband Napoleonic Wars. I kind of have an itch to play both of them, so I'll probably flip a coin or whatever after I'm done recording and play one of them. Either way, you're going to see a link down below, so if you were interested in the game, you could find out more about it. But today is going to be a little bit of a shorter news day, but I actually have a longer letter to cover towards the end. As always, if you want to skip to any of the messages or any of the stories, you can skip directly to the stories or skip directly to the user question through the info section below the video here on YouTube. But first things first, let's actually go into some news. First thing is actually a rumor coming from TechTroid. They caught rumor that Star Fox Wii U might be showing this year at E3 2012. Now, E3 isn't going to be that far away, so obviously if this is, true or not true, we're going to find out in about a month's time anyway. But it seems as though that Retro Games is going to be developing Star Fox Wii U. There's definitely word that it's not going to be a launch title if it's going to happen, and that's really it. So Star Fox fans out there, go ahead and get your what are they called? F-Wings? I think they were F-Wings. Get your F-Wings all fired up and get ready to do some more Star Foxing. I think this is, I don't know. The Star Fox series definitely needed one on the Wii. And or the Star Fox series definitely needs another one. It's kind of a cool series, and there's so much more that can be done with it. But second tidbit of news, and this is actually my favorite tidbit of the news, Bioshock Infinite has been delayed until February 26th of 2013. Why am I excited about that? Because that means it's going to free up my holiday schedule. Our holiday schedules are always absolutely insane between September and December of just trying to review as many games as we possibly can. And we always just pray for a break in the release schedule. And to be honest with you, the period between January and, say, June is generally empty with good game releases. And I think it's a fantastic move to release a AAA game, or maybe some would even consider a quadruple A game in February. I think it's going to stand out. I think people are going to be bored to tears with the games that they already bought, for the holiday season, what they got for the holidays, and people are going to want to buy and play something new. And Bioshock Infinite, I think, is going to be the perfect game for that. Hopefully, I haven't had my hands on it personally yet, but so far it looks promising. So Bioshock's been pushed back to February. For me, that's good news. For Bioshock fans, I guess if you're salivating for it, it's bad news. But like I said, it's always nice to have a break off of the holiday schedule. And final bit of news is Wolfenstein. Today is actually celebrating its 20th birthday. I feel a little bit older, but that's okay. And to celebrate its 20th birthday, Bethesda is actually having the game playable for free on the web, hosted on their servers. So I'll throw up a link for that as well below. So if you guys want to actually play some Wolfenstein 3D, it's free. It's right on Bethesda's servers, and heck, why don't you play it right now while you're listening to the rest of the show? I mean, I'm probably not playing anything that you're super salivating over while watching. I'm either reloading for 1,000 seconds or I'm buying bananas and selling wood from one port to the next. So feel free to give that one a gander. And if you haven't played Wolfenstein 3D, you should probably just trade in your gamer card at the door on your way out. But go and do that now, I guess. But today is a little bit of a bigger day. I got a letter yesterday from Nick. Nick writes, "Over the last 5 or so years, I've not found more than a small handful, less than one per finger of video games that have been released that I could say I actually genuinely enjoyed, or even games I was willing to look over shortcomings it had for the sake of enjoying the rest of it. I even stopped playing Skyrim after about 15 hours because of the huge amount of game breaking or just bizarre bugs I encountered in the game, and wrote the game off as borderline unplayable and an unfinished beta. Feeling cheated and considering I paid full price for it. I also found the Diablo 3 beta to be utterly, utterly disappointing, both in the game's content and its design. I think the only games that have been released in the past 5 years that I enjoyed are Mass Effect 2, Minecraft, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which was my first and only Call of Duty game, and I've dismissed the rest of the series as well. I've always been picky about what games I enjoy, but especially when everyone just gets into a frenzy about how good the new game in the series is looking. I seem to be the only one who's looking at new games, teasers, and trailers and completely unimpressed and think, well, they've done this in the last game. It's just been the same thing before that with a facelift. Why have they just made this besides wanting to milk a potential cash cow? I have extreme trouble finding any real games that have any new, real, fresh, or innovative artistic quality, depth, or design, and I tend to see almost all new games as being excessively shallow, superficial, childish, and being very two-dimensional. Even for games where, despite talking to about 50 people about it, I never find a single person besides myself who seems to understand. Am I being too unreasonably harsh when I look at essentially every game coming out and find enough wrong with it to the point I'm not even interested in the idea of pirating it, let alone purchasing the game? Or do you think I may simply have a very specific and difficult to cater set of tastes and benchmarks? Now, Nick, that's actually kind of interesting that you bring this up. This generation. By the way, I have to say I feel for you, man. That actually sounds like a pretty sucky situation to be in. To have a hobby that you really love, but then to have everything that kind of comes out for that hobby to just kind of absolutely suck. It's kind of like if you were, it is the equivalent of if you were a movie buff and you know, all the movies that came out over the past couple of years, you absolutely hated that you thought that Hollywood could do better. And I feel that Hollywood could be doing better than it is right now. But Nick, I feel for you, man. I think that there's a few things at play with this. One, this generation of games, and by this generation I mean all the games that came out after the Xbox 360's launch. This generation of games is completely different than last generation of games and the one prior to that. And there almost seems to be like a totally different mindset as to what they're going for. We don't seem to be trying to go for better and better gameplay with a lot of new games. We seem to be just going for better and better graphics with new games. And I think that probably plays in a lot of you know, some of these newer games' problems. That the new game isn't necessarily better or trying to innovate at all. It's just pretty much the same game repackaged, but with shinier graphics on it. Now, I enjoy shiny graphics, and of course some old games I wish did get like some touching up and re-released, but that's kind of going off the track a little bit. And the other thing is, I would honestly say that since the beginning of this generation, I would say that the gaming crowd, that people who consider themselves as gamers, have actually changed as well. I feel that the audience is now a lot more vocal. I feel that we've also, as gamers, instead of coming together, we've all kind of we've split apart. Now we're not just gamers, now we're hardcore gamers and we're casual gamers. Or we're first-person shooter gamers, or we're, you know, MMO gamers. You know, we're basically tearing ourselves apart a little bit by like that. And the reason why I bring that up is because I feel that a lot of times the actual crowds behind the games and the people that talk about games are pretty much the same people that actually ruin games as well. There's one thing to get excited about a game that's coming up, but then there's another thing when it comes to the point where it's just the same crowd over and over and over again, just getting excited about the same thing and repeating the exact same factoids over and over again about some of these games that come up, to the point where it's just like, you know what, I don't care about this game anymore because you've ruined it for me, kind of thing. And I kind of wonder if there's a little bit of that going on here. But again, this generation of games also, like I said, has a different feel to it entirely. But it's okay to have it's very okay to have very refined taste in your video games. I think that's normal. I think that's healthy, and I think that makes you a better consumer as well. You're not going to buy something unless you think it's absolutely worth it. So you're not going to keep buying the same reiterated crap that we get all over and over again. Now, I do want to say that it's interesting, the games that you bring up. Mass Effect 2, Minecraft, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It seems as though the games that you're trying out, or the games that you really, really enjoy, are kind of the odd ones in the series, except for Minecraft. Minecraft is kind of its own experience. But out of like the Call of Duty games, Modern Warfare 2, I would put towards the bottom of the barrel, to be honest with you. I think if you enjoyed Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I really think that you should go back and try Modern Warfare 1, and I truly feel that you should go back and try Call of Duty 2. Call of Duty 2 is my favorite one in the entire series. A lot of people say that Call of Duty 1 is their favorites. My favorite is Call of Duty 2. I wish it didn't have regenerating health, but there was just something about Call of Duty 2 that had a better feel for me. It felt a little bit more emotional than the original Call of Duty. I would wholeheartedly recommend go back and trying Call of Duty 2 and 4. But you had me thinking about games this generation and about how picky you are. And I can't help but think that maybe there's some games that you've just missed, or maybe you just looked at them and you kind of immediately wrote them off as being poor. So I kind of put together a little list for you here. And they're basically the Randy's must-play games of this generation, basically. And I'm going to start off with what I think is the absolute strongest, and then it's kind of going to go hodgepodge from there. So don't think I'm doing them in any order except for the very first one. I truly feel that the best game of this generation is Red Dead Redemption. And I will probably feel that way again in a couple of years. I don't think that anybody else has, in terms of video game storytelling, has come close to what they've done in that. I think they have the best story one of the best stories that we've seen in a long time. I think the gameplay is pretty spot on for where it needs to be. I think the music is wonderful. I think that there's plenty of replay value there because it's a rather lengthy game, and there's also multiplayer if you were inclined to actually play it. And to be honest with you, it was just the environment was completely immersive, and it shocked me from beginning to end. It was one of the few games this generation where I could not put it down until I was absolutely done with everything. In hindsight, I do feel that it's a little lopsided, that the front end is a little bit stronger than the back end, but still the gameplay was more than enough to keep me going the entire way through. So if you haven't, I wholeheartedly recommend giving Red Dead Redemption a try. Let me see. Next on my list, I kind of popped something up in front of me here. Like I said, I'm going to go a little bit here and there. Assassin's Creed 2 is another game that I would totally recommend. You can pretty much skip Assassin's Creed 1. I really enjoyed Assassin's Creed 1. One of my favorite games of this generation is the original one, but I think Assassin's Creed 2 is by far and large the best game in that series entirely. I thought Brotherhood was okay. I thought Generations was a big step back it was a big step in the wrong direction for them. But Assassin's Creed 2 is, I think, where they nailed everything, where they got the gameplay, where they got the controls of the first one in, because the controls from the first one were great. They refined the story into probably what I think is the best story out of all of them as well. Aside from the story, I think that the actual gameplay is solid. I think that the frame story along with the internal story is really good. And to be honest with you, I was intrigued from beginning to end. The puzzles that they actually tossed in there, and the conspiracy theory kind of story that is interwoven within it, I can't think of another game that does it that well. So it's almost like a Da Vinci Code, but better kind of thing. I'm sorry I wasn't that big of a fan of the Da Vinci Code, but I really enjoyed Assassin's Creed 2, so I would wholeheartedly recommend that if you haven't given that one a shot yet, give Assassin's Creed 2 a try, and I'm pretty sure you can get that one for really cheap right now. Considering based on your choices that you had listed out there, I would wholeheartedly recommend Portals 1 and 2 for obvious reasons. I think that they are supremely well refined games. I think that the puzzles are great, and even if you aren't like the biggest puzzle fan, I think it's worth at least giving a shot. And Portal 2, I believe, right now is on sale because of the DLC came out for it today. In that same vein, Trines 1 and 2. So Trine 1 and 2. Trine 1, I thought, had the better gameplay out of the two of them, had the better puzzles. But Trine 1 and 2 were some of the best platforming, I think, of this generation. By far. And it's a great co-op game as well. Trine 1 is still a fantastic game. Trine 2 is one of the most beautiful games I think I've ever played. It's one of the nicest looking side-scrolling games I've ever played, and it's definitely stuck with me. So I would wholeheartedly recommend Trine 2. This one, kind of in the same vein as as some of your PC games that you mentioned, but you did not bring up this one. Mount and Blade Warband. Mount and Blade Warband was one of the games that completely took me by surprise. I had heard people talking about it before I played it. There was this gigantic cult following that was surrounding it, and I didn't understand it. I was looking at the screenshots, and I thought, boy, this looks like crap. I was even watching some videos of people playing it, and I thought, meh, okay, maybe. But then once I actually picked it up and put an hour into the game and realized just how awesome that game is, you will be hooked. It's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, but the gameplay alone is enough to kind of keep you going. It's a completely immersive game. Once you're actually in there, you're going to feel like you're on the battlefield with your troops. You're going to want to actually gain more territory for your kingdom. You're going to want your king to select you to give you new kingdoms and everything like that. And the multiplayer for it is actually very, very good as well. So I would totally recommend Mount and Blade Warband. Certainly, there's some issues with it. Namely, the economy system is a little bit wonky, and, you know, it's hard, unless you figure out exactly how to play. It does not have the best tutorials in the world. But once you get into a groove with Mount and Blade Warband, I can't say it is one of the most addictive experiences on PC. In fact, I can't think of a game that was more addictive since Sid Meier's Pirates. Just ridiculously addictive. You'll pick it up and start playing it, and you won't even realize it, but 8 hours of your life will just be sucked away. In that vein of PC exclusive games, I wholeheartedly recommend the original Company of Heroes. I think it's one of the greatest real-time strategy games of all time, and I think it's one of the best games this generation, and it's one of the best reasons to actually own a PC. Company of Heroes, even though I am terrible at real-time strategy games, kept me playing it as far as I could possibly go until the game completely beat me down. The sound design is fantastic, the visuals are amazing, and even for a war game, I was impressed at how well a real-time strategy game could actually tell a story. So, I would wholeheartedly recommend Company of Heroes. That is just a wonderful real-time strategy game that will probably amaze you at how deep it really can go. In the vein of real-time strategy games, I also will throw in Total War Shogun 2, which is a total guilty pleasure of mine. The amount of time that I've actually clocked into Shogun 2 is a little shameful. But Total War Shogun 2 will surprise you at how deep it can be. The combat is fantastic. The units are easy to understand. And it is a very addictive and satisfying real-time strategy game. And it's beautiful. When you actually zoom right in and watch the battles go on, it is an experience that you can only get on the PC. So I would totally recommend Total War Shogun 2, and I have to admit, I was afraid of the Total War series because, again, I'm not a real-time strategy kind of guru. But Patrick Feng, who writes and does videos for the site, he wholeheartedly recommended it to me, and I picked it up. I was addicted almost right from the start. It is absolutely worth every penny, and right now I think it's under $30 or something along those lines. If you're looking for a console experience, I can't think of a better game than Uncharted 2. I think it's one of the best console exclusive games that's come out this generation. Uncharted 2 is basically an Indiana Jones game interactively. I think the dialogue is wonderful. I think the action is fantastic. I think the pacing is perfect from beginning to end. And just like, Indiana Jones, it's filled with great one-liners, some wonderful characters that you're likely to remember for a long time, and the action can't be beat. And considering you're the one that's actually performing all the action, it's really wonderful. I can't recommend it enough. I, however, have not touched Uncharted 3 yet. I wish I had, but right when I got a copy of it in my hands is when my PlayStation 3 actually gave me the yellow light of death. But Uncharted 2 I can wholeheartedly recommend. If you haven't played the original Uncharted, don't need to. Uncharted 1 is okay, but Uncharted 2 is by far a superior game. Back in the PC vein of things, if you have not tried it yet, definitely give Amnesia: The Dark Descent a try. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is one of those games that surprised me and afterwards surprised the hell out of everybody else. It is without a doubt one of the scariest games I've ever played in my entire life. Graphically, it's not super fantastic, but if you if you want just an experience where you can close the door, show it off the rest of the world, and escape into a different world, Amnesia: The Dark Descent is absolutely the game you want to go with. You will be afraid. I guarantee it. And if you're not, then my hat's off to you. You're a braver man than I. But if you really get into it, if you kill the lights, if you put on the headphones, if you you know, and you turn up the headphones a little bit and take it seriously, Amnesia will surprise the hell out of you. I wholeheartedly recommend that one as well. And you said Mass Effect 2 in your list. Try Mass Effect 1. In my eyes, Mass Effect 1 is the by far superior game in every way except for graphics. I think the gameplay is better in Mass Effect 1. I think the story is much better in Mass Effect 1. The role-playing in Mass Effect 1 is much better, and I like the characters a lot better in Mass Effect 1, except for Karth. I couldn't have gotten rid of him faster, or whatever the heck his name is, but seriously, Karth can go to hell. But, yeah, go back and play Mass Effect 1. If you've only played Mass Effect 2, go back and play Mass Effect 1. I wholeheartedly recommend that. It is a wonderful game. And, you know, that's one of those games that, again, I would recommend on PC over consoles. But, oh, and 2 other games. Witchers 1 and 2. Now, I'm not going to say that one of the Witchers is better than the other. I think that Witcher 1 and Witcher 2, they offer completely different experiences. They are both some of the best role-playing games this generation. And they are also, in my eyes, they get extra points because they're adult games made for adult gamers. And what I mean is, it's a game that's made for the people who grew up playing games. It's not meant for the 12 and the 13-year-olds who I love reading the comments on the video reviews. They're like, I'm 13 and I played this game, and I can't help but think, you're 13 and you really shouldn't be playing this game. It's not meant for you. Your mom and dad should be taking this game away from you. But I really like The Witcher 1 and 2. It's meant for adults, and they don't shy away from anything. They don't edit themselves at all. What they want to say and do, they actually say and do. It takes a lot of adult, mature themes, and it actually puts it into a video game that makes it much more serious. And none of them are there for shock value, which is fantastic. Because, you know, when you play games like Gears of War 2 or Gears of War 3, where they just kind of throw around curse words like crazy, I don't mind cursing at all, but the way they actually curse in those games, it sounds so unnatural that it's almost kind of, it makes you cringe. I don't care if anybody says any swear words or anything like that in front of me, but seriously, the amount that they overswear in those games is like, really? Nobody talks like this. Outside of college, nobody talks like this. But anyway, so that's what I got to say to you, man. I would recommend, you know, kind of backtracking a little bit. Like I said, there's so many people that kind of get amped up, and there's so many people that talk praise or talk smack about video games these days. Maybe you need to take a little bit of a break from actually gaming forum boards or something along those lines to kind of let you make a decision for yourself as to what games you like and what games you don't like. And if you don't like that many games that are coming out nowadays, I don't think you should be ashamed of that at all. I think that this generation of games offers a completely different experience than what last generation did and the generation before that. I have a very close friend right now who is a longtime gamer, but he openly admits that he hasn't bought a video game in probably about 2 or 3 years, and he much prefers to actually just watch game trailers than playing new video games. So I think that you feeling slightly discouraged by the current video game offerings, I think that's perfectly natural, man. You know, and if you're feeling totally burnt out by it, you know, maybe taking a month off or 2 from gaming might actually do you some good. You know, step away from the gaming lifestyle, step away from the forum boards, put the controllers down for a little bit, and you know, and go read some awesome books, go pick up some comics for a while or something, or go you know, go through your backlog of missed horror movies. You know, make a list of awesome 80s and 70s horror movies that you need to watch yet, and then when you're done with that, maybe you can come back to gaming with a fresh eye. So you know, I guess that's that, man. I hope that helps. I hope you don't feel like you're, you know, kind of by yourself in this anymore, because I don't think it's unnatural. But I'm also sorry if this went on a little long. I'm looking at my time now and I'm going, oops. Anyway, thanks for the comments, Nick. Thanks for the questions, Nick. Again, sorry if I rambled a little bit. If anybody else has any comments or questions, please feel free to send them to info@elder-geek.com. And also, if anybody has any other must-play games of this generation that they would like to recommend to Nick, please feel free to list them below here. Try to stay away from the, I don't know, But just go ahead and toss out your suggestions, and we'll let him decide. But anyway, I'm not going to be talking to you all tomorrow. Tomorrow is actually Game Club, where we're going to be playing Another World. So if you have any comments that you would like for us to read on Another World tomorrow night's episode, please feel free to leave them here. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. As always, follow us on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and of course, hit up our main site at elder-geek.com. I won't talk to you tomorrow, but I'll talk to you all on Friday.